Paul, you know why today is exciting? Two reasons.
Okay.
Well,
What would those be?
one, I've got some purple drink
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm.
my youth because my wife bought some for my kid, and I'm a child apparently. Number two is
Mm.
my new sprinkler showed up today.
I never would have guessed either one of those.
Yeah, I know. That's why I wanted you to guess to feel left out or something.
Well,
Yep, my brown crispy grass will remain brown and crispy, just a little more moist.
just
And
wet. Yep. We have reached the scorched earth part of the summer.
mm-hmm. Yep. Or as I tell my wife, it's my grass is Napoleon's last stand.
How'd that go?
Well, the retreat never works out so well.
Right.
Just-
Speaking of retreat, go ahead. I'll do it for you. Yeah. Come on, that was pretty good.
I'm not used to you doing the
I know. No, I'm
transitions.
not
This
either.
is-
That might be the first one I've ever done in my entire life.
I think we're on episode like 440, something like that. And, I appreciate you contributing. If I could rewind time, I would do it again. But what I think you were talking about, whoops, not that. Oops, hit the wrong button. Well, if you want to see a tweet from a while ago, I don't even know how I did that. That was actually impressive. I was trying to do this.
Here it is.
This thing. So there's been, I don't know, Paul, how many posts do you think we've done? One, maybe two about it? Just one thing.
So, Brad, I was not able to post this in time for before the show, but I'm working. I'm done with a post. It's actually in the, what do you call it? In
The queue?
WordPress or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is about our obsession with Andromeda. So we've written a few posts.
Just a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's kind of the story, if you will. I wrote it up. It's on the site if you guys want to go read it. It was almost a month ago, about now, when I posted the Libra, Caramel, Andromeda post. Here's all the code names and all the good stuff. And ever since then, it's like I wasn't stopped. Like, I didn't just say, okay, we're done, and then just sit at my desk all day and just wait. I just kept asking around, trying to find out more what's going on, because the 2018 release date was under Terry Myerson, was late last year. We know plans change. They can literally change even when products are still on trucks, aka the Surface Mini. And just kept going around, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of sources just kind of came online and said, "Hey, we've got more information about it." And I feel very confident to say Andromeda is not dead, but it is going to be significantly reworked. And as Mary Jo correctly assessed, the software is not going to be included RS5. That is because it is going back into the labs to get redone. I don't know what else they're going to add because we never truly saw it. But it basically came down to the product was at a go, no-go decision. And as we know now, it was a no-go decision, but it wasn't no-go and then just drop it into a hole in the desert like the old Surface Minis. It was send it back into the labs. Let's work on the software. Let's work on the hardware. Let's make it better. And let's actually ship it when it's going to be something and not just ship it because we hit the milestone that we set out to create.
Yeah, this is the topic of this article I've yet to post. I mean, it is astonishing to me. Astonishing that the senior leadership team looked at this thing and didn't cancel it because it has no point. They canceled it because the Snapdragon 835 processor they would have had to have used this year was not up to snuff, probably from a performance and a compatibility standpoint, and that the passage of time and the release of new Qualcomm chipsets that are oriented for the PC architecture would solve these problems. And so the software will be redone, maybe the hardware design will be tweaked, whatever. But I mean, I can't be the only one, but I sometimes feel like I'm the only one who thinks that it doesn't matter what the architecture is. Like, this thing doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think this is a good thing by all means. I also kind of just went off on a tangent too, that the problem with the Surface brand at this point is it's not new anymore, and they can't risk another failure on the level of the Surface RT. And so if they shove this thing out the door with the Surface branding and it sells, here I did some math earlier, rough math here. So there was that petition, right, that had 15,000 signatures. Yep. Let's pretend that all 15,000 buy the device. They won't, but let's just pretend. Let's say they sell this thing for $1,000 and they get a very generous 20% margin on the hardware. They don't.
Which They won't. Yeah, yeah.
If that scenario exactly played out as is, Microsoft would make about $2.5 million in revenue and net income. Like, that is nothing to them in a company that does $4 to $6 billion in net income every quarter. There is no reason to take that risk.
It's funny, the way you said that was very. I actually ended up chopping it out of the end of the article. I keep referencing for some reason. I guess because it's in my head. That's exactly the path I was going down for the conclusion that at this point in time, Microsoft cannot afford a disaster like this, right? My theory was that it would, and I didn't write this, so it's good we're talking about it here, that it would undo the gains they've made from two things, which are the reliability improvements that have occurred in Surface since Surface Pro 4 and the original Surface Book, what I called Surface Gate.
Yep.
And also the what I think of as the new Microsoft vibe of Surface Go, which is a product that makes the Surface line more accessible and open to others, which is very much in keeping with the whole Microsoft of today philosophy. The notion that Microsoft can just show up and create something and make it happen, regardless of its point, is kind of old Microsoft, you know? And it's the part of the company that has largely been excised. And yet here we are having this discussion about whether or not they're going to make this product. And it hinges on the processor, not on the basic notion of this thing, which is just pointless.
Yep.
It's very strange.
Yeah, it is. And I want to fully, well, let me explicitly say, I don't know 1,000% that the only reason they looked at this and said no is because the processor. I think there was a multitude of reasons, and one of the reasons why they're going back and looking at the hardware again. But this thing, unlike, say, an Apple Watch or even the first Surface Pro, which was kind of category defining, because this isn't it's a new category, but it's not. I mean, it sits in between two really popular products, and you're trying to convince somebody to grab a third device to carry with them. It has to be perfect out of the gate. There can't be it's
the iPad argument.
Yeah.
Here's a list of 10 things or whatever that it has to do better than a phone or a tablet in this case.
Yep.
You know, we've actually introduced a fourth thing, by the way, or fifth. I don't know how you want to count these things. But we have phones, we have tablets, pure tablets, we have hybrid tablets, 2-in-1 computers, laptops, desktops, whatever. There's all these devices. Like, how does this? In what mess does this make sense?
Yep. The only way I could ever see this making sense is if it's part of a dockable solution where, let's just pretend that the next Surface laptop is that device and it just goes into a clamshell, and then that's the bigger device and you can take it out and do whatever. Like, that scenario seems a little bit more plausible than just saying, here's an extra device that doesn't connect to a bigger screen, that isn't a part of a bigger solution.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm out of touch with the mainstream here, but yeah, sure. But you may have been part of this or saw this, but there was a kind of a conversation going on, I think yesterday on Twitter. Rich Woods was talking about something, and it kind of went down this path where someone said, like, well, you're using a desktop computer? That's crazy. How come you don't use a Surface Book or whatever it is attached to a screen, and blah, blah, blah. And it was like Richard Hayes and some other people were kind of talking about, you can dock these things, and why wouldn't you just use the one thing? And I use a desktop computer. I'm using one right now. I also have laptops. And one of the things that I found is that there's minimal overhead, in fact, arguably no overhead really over time, to install the couple of apps that you need on whatever computer, and then use OneDrive to sync everything back and forth. And if I'm working on a document here, which I do every day, and I go into the living room or up to the bedroom with a Surface Pro or a Surface Book or whatever the device may be, I open the thing up, turn it on, log in, and I'm working on the same document. It's that fast. So that supposed benefit of bringing that thing around everywhere with as if we keep stuff on the storage, it's on the one device, I just think is not modern, and I think that's the one small flaw of this what we'll call a Continuum device. It's one of those ideas like that in general sounds like it might be interesting in theory. Like, you just have one device and it does everything. You can plug it in here, you can plug it in here, and you still have stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you've created like a single point of failure for yourself as well. If my laptop goes south or whatever, I'm lucky. I'm able to review things. I have lots of things sitting around, like most people don't have that. But everything is up in the cloud. It's safe. I could sit down at this computer and just work. Oh well, I can't sit in the living room and work on a laptop. Like I don't know. I feel like this notion of one thing that does everything sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
But practically speaking, I don't know that it's ever proven actually to be a good idea.
Yeah. I will tell you this, jumping back to the desktop. I love my desktop. I literally forged it in my basement with parts and screws and wires.
Like the One Ring.
Yeah.
You'd have a bunch of orcs in the background going, oh, wee, oh.
I did. Like, you should have heard
Yeah.
the music. I had like the Jurassic Park soundtrack playing when I was building. I built it right on this desk right here.
Nice.
And I mean, I don't even say it's way overkill. Like, the problem is, this is Surface Book 2, and it's not, it doesn't hold a candle to a 10 core Core i9, and it's not intended to, but
Sure.
so.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, you could have any laptop, especially today with Thunderbolt 3 capabilities, where you can have a really high-powered dock of some kind. It could even have an external GPU on it, turn that thing into kind of a gaming machine or whatever. But I don't know. I'm one of those right tool for the job kind of guys, and each device I choose to use, and we sometimes write these things up like what we use and where we use them and so forth. I feel like everything has to play a role, and when things don't make sense, they just kind of get weeded out.
I'm trying to multitask here, and I'm doing a not so good job of it. But somebody on Twitter just sent me a link to Costco, and I don't have a Costco membership, so I can't log in. But
okay, send it to me because I do have one.
Okay, I'll send it to you on Skype here. But it's a Surface Go bundle. But here's why it's interesting. It's because it's a 4 gigs of memory, but 128 gig SSD, which means it doesn't have that crap eMMC.
That might just be a mistake.
That's what I'm wondering. Here,
I think that's a mistake.
The link on there, or is it some sort of Costco exclusive bundle?
It says 4 gigs of memory. No, this is just a mistake. Well, hold on a second.
Yeah, what's the price though?
$549. So I believe the mistake here is actually it has 8 gigs of memory.
Okay, if it's a $549, then it's definitely
definitely
that.
I think it's just a typo.
Well, Costco, you're letting us down yet again.
Costco is a great place to buy electronics, however.
It really is.
They have an incredible return policy.
Yep, and they pay their employees very well. It's a good.
So when you get that thing and it actually has 8 gigs of RAM, and you're upset about that, they will take it back as a return.
It has more than I thought it would. I don't like
that is not okay.
It's too quick. So, also something that happened yesterday, which I first wrote about in February, because we're playing Toot Your Own Bradhorn today. There's now a free version of Teams available, and Paul, I'm honestly surprised at how robust this is. That it supports up to 300 people, like 10 gigs of storage are included, and I mean it's free.
When you say robust,
yes.
You mean like on paper?
Well, I mean, yes. Like,
I mean, somebody asked me, given the recent improvements to Teams, would we as a company be reevaluating this product? And so I didn't confer with anybody on this, but my off-the-cuff response was that we have several big projects in the works over Petri and Thurrott that are going to span several months. And I think introducing new technology right now may not be the smartest thing for us to do.
Yep. The biggest problem for us with Teams, or I should say the problem with Teams right now, is that it doesn't work with outside contractors very well. And so, for example, on the Petri side, I pay 10, 11 freelancers every month to rate content. None of them can be on Teams unless we're willing to bring them into the family, if you will. And so we're just not a good case study for it because of what we use. Like we're not a document heavy company. We're a content publication. Everything that we keep is it's on the web and people read it.
We have people who design things. Like we send out newsletters, there are graphics and things, and they make assets, and we have meetings, and we look at those assets, and we talk about them, and we make changes, and we do things. We're like a company.
Yeah.
We're like a little company. I don't know. I've not used Slack personally. There were some people here who were pushing for Slack earlier.
Let's just call that was Mahedi.
The people were, those the millennial types. Um, I'm not against it. I don't, you know, we're certainly small enough to,
Yeah.
want to use that kind of a thing. And I think that's the issue for Microsoft. And I think that's the reason, well, that obviously is the reason, they had to be able to counter Slack at every possible level. And then what the new teams, when you kind of combine what they had before with what they have now, is they have this kind of upgrade path where as your company gets bigger and you grow with teams, you can upgrade to Office 365, and then your worldview explodes out because you get such an incredible amount of stuff with that.
Yep. My only kind of criticism probably isn't the right word here, but I don't think this is going to be some sort of overnight massive boom in usage in Teams. The only reason I say that is that any sizable company already has an Office 365 subscription, which means they already had access to Teams. So those people aren't going to flock to it. The only people that are going to flock to it would be somebody who doesn't have Office 365, which is going to be a small company, which is fine. Yeah. But at that point, I don't see them just intentionally launching Teams just to launch Teams, because it's not going to fit into the rest of their workflow. So,
well, yeah, I agree with that. I think that this at least gets Teams in the conversation. If you, especially startup, smaller companies that were looking at whatever solutions. If the barrier before was paying whatever the monthly fee is for X number of users for Office 365, Teams was not considered before, and now it can be. Yeah. And if you have an eye toward the future and you think the Microsoft productivity stuff is valuable and will be more valuable as you get bigger, it might put it over the top for some.
Yeah, it's good though. I'm happy that they went down this route. I'm happy with the product that they're offering. I think it's the right move. It's just not it's not going to make them $1 billion next month type thing.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But I actually think this is pretty genius of who's doing this. Is it Amazon? Did I copy that headline right?
What's right?
I was looking at I thought it was like Acer or somebody, but maybe I just read the headline wrong.
You talking about the Echo Dot thing?
Yeah.
It is Acer.
Yeah, it is Acer. So I think this is genius, actually. They're giving away an Echo Dot with is every purchase of Alexa. Oh, stop.
Alexa powered.
Yep. PCs.
Sorry.
Yeah. My thing just exploded. This is a great segment, by the way. So if you're going to buy one of those PCs, you can get one of those electronic Sky Gods with it for free.
I'm not going to get the dollar amount right, but there was another deal today where if you spent, I don't know, $128 or maybe $138 on eBay, you would also get a free Amazon Echo Dot. Like this thing is like the modern equivalent of the little cardboard toy you would get in like a box of Cracker Jacks or something you get for free in a box of cereal. That kind of thing.
There's no way it costs them more than a couple bucks to make those things at this point.
I think it's smart. They should give everyone with a Prime membership one of these for free. It's like the gateway drug to voice control,
It is. It absolutely is. So you got that. What is your Ask Paul picture? That looks disgusting.
That is a White Castle hamburger. So
it is disgusting. So there you go.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty gross. That picture is from May 2015, which I only know because I had to look it up. But when I drove cross country with the car I bought for my dad, I stopped actually in Ohio, and I filled up the car with gas, got a free car wash because that was the deal at that place, and had White Castle hamburgers for lunch. And the reason it's the picture is someone asked whether I prefer White Castle or Crystal, which I had never heard of. I had to look that one up. But apparently they are a Georgia-based slider company.
Mm-hmm. So, Paul, I'm going to jump backwards in time. Because this Costco thing is more interesting.
Okay.
I don't think it may not be a typo because it's $5.49 with a type cover, which means it's probably $4.49.
Okay. Well, I still believe it's a typo. I don't think there's a new configuration. I wish the base configuration was 120 gigs of SSD storage for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, if you're looking for if you're in the Costco area, this might be one worth at least looking at because it's a bundle. It says pre-order now for.
The problem is it's a pre-order, right? So you can't go to the store and see it.
Yep.
It's still not coming till August 2nd, which, by the way, is not that far away. It's 3 weeks from now.
3 weeks,
So I bet they fix it. I'm going to keep an eye on that. But
we will see. We will see. The other things that Microsoft needs to fix is they need to bring their Whiteboard app to iOS and Android. They launched it for Windows 10 and the web, I believe, but No mobile
Yeah.
apps yet, but that's coming soon, I think.
Yeah, the original, people have been writing about the Android part of it. I don't remember that being part of the announcement. I thought it was just iOS, but obviously it needs to be on Android. I'm sure it will be. So yeah, it will get there.
Yeah, it will. And then, Paul, we'll wrap it up here today with the most important update to OneNote occurred yesterday. Do you know what that was, Paul?
The most important update to OneNote occurred yesterday.
Yep, the UWP app specifically.
Yeah, I don't. Although, just real quick, you can now set the default paste in OneNote. That's not from yesterday. It's from like last week, but that's actually huge for me.
Yeah, but that
so
was
if you want, oh, that was it. Okay, so that actually happened. Yeah,
yeah.
That's okay. It's funny you also think that's a big deal. That's a huge thing for me.
It is, because
I don't like things being formatted. I want it plain text.
Yep,
personally.
and typically what we do is we copy the headlines in from posts we're going to talk about, and then it always says, "Here's the post. Here's," and then all that.
There's a link to the post,
Yep.
even though the post itself is linked. I hate that. Yeah. So yeah, that's funny that you think that's a big deal, because I also thought that was a big deal.
And you can change that. You have to actually manually set that, but you click the little
But you
button.
can set it.
Yes, you can. You go into settings, options, and all the way down at the bottom, you can set your default text or paste preference, which is finally here.
You know, I don't know when this started, but in Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, whatever, with OneNote, there's a big paste control. So you can paste, but then you get like a little, forgetting what they call these things now, a little icon appears. You can click on that and choose what kind of paste it is on the fly. You can choose the default paste. I always go plain text. I've always done that, and this is one of those things that's made the Windows 10 version of OneDrive kind of hard to use, because like when you paste into some applications, like Chrome does this. If you paste into a form, instead of doing Control V, you can do Control Shift V, and that always goes text. I never understood why Microsoft didn't support that in Office. Because you could get kind of a way to override the default. Anyway, this solves the problem. It's good. I'm glad they did this.
You got anything else for today, Paul? You got any plans for the weekend?
Well, this is my last weekend at home before we go to Sweden next week. So, we have a lot. We should see the list of stuff we have to do before we go. I will post that Andromeda editorial. I actually mostly finished my 1+6 review last night. I need to take some photos and just check on a couple of, I want to make sure I got a couple of things right, fact wise, but that will be available today as well. How about you?
Well, once we get done here, I'm going to go turn my sprinkler back on and drop nickels all over my lawn, because why not?
Okay. Well, fun.
Yeah, it's going to be hot this weekend, so I think it's going to be a pool.
This has been a real summer, like a real. I don't know if this is normal for this area, but it's been 90-ish for most of the summer. It's kind of impressive.
It is. It is. Well, that wraps it up for this week, folks. We'll be back next week, and have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch you right back here next time.